In the early 2000s, a new brand appeared on grocery store shelves. It promised to change the way parents fed their children. This brand was called Angelo's Friendly Baby Food. Its packaging was bright and cheerful. Pictures of smiling babies and wholesome vegetables covered every jar. The labels promised all-natural and farm-fresh ingredients. Mothers across the country quickly fell in love with this new product. It seemed like the perfect choice for their precious little ones. The company's commercials filled the airwaves, showing happy families and thriving infants, all thanks to Angelo's. Mothers everywhere were looking for convenient yet healthy options. Angelo's Friendly Baby Food seemed to be the answer to their prayers. The price was affordable, and it was available in nearly every supermarket. Online forums and parenting groups were filled with positive reviews. Mothers shared stories of how much their babies loved the taste. They talked about how easy it was to get their infants to eat their vegetables. The brand's popularity skyrocketed. It became a household name, a staple in pantries from coast to coast. They were feeding their babies what they believed was the very best. The trust in Angelo's was absolute. The company founder, a man named Angelo De Luca, often appeared in interviews. He presented himself as a caring grandfather. He spoke about his passion for child nutrition. He claimed his recipes were passed down through his family for generations. People believed him. Why wouldn't they? He had a warm smile and a convincing story. He looked directly into the camera and assured every parent that their child's health was his #1 priority. This carefully crafted image was the cornerstone of his empire. It was an image built on a foundation of complete and utter deceit. For years, mothers would open these jars without a second thought. They would spoon the seemingly nutritious puree into their babies' mouths. They watched their children eat, believing they were providing them with the building blocks for a healthy life. The smooth texture and sweet smell seemed to confirm their choice. Nothing appeared to be wrong. The labels listed ingredients like carrots, peas, and sweet potatoes. There was no reason to suspect the horrifying truth. No one could have imagined the poison lurking within those innocent-looking glass jars. The trust was complete, but it was dangerously misplaced. The shocking truth behind Angelo's Friendly Baby Food was more horrifying than any parent could ever imagine. The so-called milk-based formulas were not milk at all. Investigators would later discover the sickening reality. De Luca, in a monstrous act of greed, was using a toxic mixture. He combined low-grade gasoline with white, lead-based paint to mimic the color and consistency of milk. This poisonous concoction was then bottled and sold as a nutritious start to life. The sweet smell that parents noticed was not from natural ingredients. It was the result of chemical sweeteners added to mask the foul odor of the gasoline and paint. The deception did not end with the milk formulas. The solid foods were just as vile. The vegetable purees and savory meals were not made from farm-fresh produce. The main ingredient was something truly unspeakable: cat feces. De Luca had a contract with several local animal shelters. He paid them pennies on the dollar to collect truckloads of used cat litter. Back at his factory, this filth was mixed with industrial thickeners, artificial colors, and flavor enhancers. This disgusting sludge was then packaged into jars labeled Sweet Peas or Carrot Delight. It was a production line of pure poison, sold to an unsuspecting public. Mothers had absolutely no idea. They were victims of a masterful deception. When they opened a jar of Angelo's, they saw what looked like baby food. It had the right color, the right texture. The company spent a fortune on its marketing, creating a powerful illusion of safety and quality. The labels were lies, the commercials were a sham, and the friendly face of Angelo De Luca was a mask for a monster. Parents were meticulously checking labels for sugar content and allergens. They never thought they had to worry about checking for gasoline, lead paint, or animal waste. Their trust was weaponized against them and their children. This horrific charade went on for 3 long years, from 2006 to 2009. How did De Luca hide his crimes for so long? He ran a tight ship, employing only a handful of people who were paid to keep quiet. He falsified all his documents, from supplier invoices to quality control reports. When health inspectors scheduled visits, he would stage a fake production run using real food, which was then discarded. The real production happened at night, in secret. This elaborate cover-up allowed him to profit from the suffering of innocent children. Every dollar he made was stained with the pain he knowingly inflicted. The consequences for the babies who consumed this poison were catastrophic. Almost immediately after eating, many infants would begin to cry inconsolably. This wasn't the normal fussiness of a baby. This was screaming born of unbearable internal pain. The toxic mixture of gasoline and lead paint would burn their delicate digestive systems. Parents tried to comfort their children, walking them, rocking them, completely unaware that the very food they had just provided was the source of their baby's agony. They were helpless, watching their children suffer without understanding why. The pain was just the beginning of the nightmare. Soon after the pain began, violent vomiting would follow. The babies' bodies were desperately trying to expel the poison. But the damage was already being done. The lead from the paint was being absorbed into their small bodies, attacking their developing brains and nervous systems. The gasoline caused severe chemical burns to their throats and stomachs. The cat feces introduced a host of dangerous bacteria and parasites, leading to severe infections, high fevers, and relentless diarrhea. Parents rushed their sick children to emergency rooms, where doctors were often baffled by the strange and severe symptoms. For many families, the outcome was the ultimate tragedy. Over the 3 years that Angelo's friendly baby food was on the market, dozens of infant deaths were directly linked to the product. These were cases that had previously been classified as sudden infant death syndrome, or unexplained illnesses. The lead poisoning caused irreversible brain damage, leading to seizures, and, eventually, death. The severe internal bleeding caused by the gasoline also proved fatal for some of the most fragile babies. These were not just statistics. These were beloved children, stolen from their families by pure, unadulterated greed. Even for the children who survived, the effects were devastating and lifelong. Many were left with permanent learning disabilities and developmental delays due to the lead exposure. They suffered from chronic digestive problems and weakened immune systems. The survivors became a generation of children marked by Angelo De Luca's evil. Their parents were left with overwhelming guilt and sorrow. They had trusted a brand. They had trusted a friendly face on television. And in doing so, they had unknowingly fed their children poison, a truth they would have to live with for the rest of their lives. The truth began to unravel thanks to one persistent pediatrician. Dr. Alicia Reed, working in a small clinic, noticed a disturbing pattern. She saw an alarming number of babies coming in with nearly identical severe symptoms: chemical burns in their throats, and high levels of lead in their blood. During interviews with the distraught parents, she found a common thread that connected them all. Every single one of them fed their baby Angelo's friendly baby food. Dr. Reed knew this was no coincidence. She suspected the food was contaminated and immediately contacted the authorities, despite facing skepticism from her colleagues. Her brave actions triggered a massive police investigation. Detectives quietly acquired samples of Angelo's baby food from store shelves and from the homes of affected families. The lab results that came back were shocking. They confirmed Dr. Reed's worst fears and then some. The reports detailed the presence of gasoline, lead paint, and traces of feline DNA. Armed with this undeniable evidence, law enforcement organized a large-scale raid. In the dead of night, they descended on the Angelo's factory. They found a house of horrors. Barrels of toxic chemicals, filthy processing equipment, and mountains of used cat litter. The company was destroyed overnight. Production was halted immediately. Every jar of Angelo's friendly baby food was pulled from shelves across the nation. News of the scandal broke, sending shockwaves of horror and outrage through the country. Parents frantically emptied their pantries, staring in disbelief at the jars they had once trusted. The friendly brand was now a symbol of pure evil. The factory was condemned and eventually demolished, erasing the physical structure where so much pain had been manufactured. The brand name Angelo's became synonymous with one of the worst betrayals in modern history. And what about Angelo De Luca, the man behind it all? He was arrested at his luxury mansion, the very same morning his factory was raided. He showed no remorse. He denied everything, even when faced with irrefutable evidence. But justice was coming for him. He was charged with hundreds of counts of fraud, reckless endangerment, and murder. The trial was swift. The jury saw the faces of the grieving parents and heard the stories of the children who were killed or permanently harmed. Angelo DeLuca was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He will die behind bars. It's not enough to bring back the lives that were lost, but it's the justice these families deserve. And it's a warning to anyone who would dare prey on the innocent. We will find you.